Hello there, and welcome to this arty corner of mine on YouTube. I'm Angela. It's lovely to see you again. Well, not see you, but know that you're there with me as I'm drawing, even though this is recorded and not live. But I think you know what I mean. It's lovely to share art with you. And in my last live video, I was working on this, but I'm going to save this for the next live video. It's I've done nothing more to it, but I know where it is, which is always a good thing, especially if I've had to clear out or clear up or tidy up. But I thought today I just want to do something that is something I've not done for a long while, which is working on variations. I'm not doing tangle patterns. I'm likely to do flowers. Might do mushrooms as well, leaves. Should we just say botanicals? But I'm going to start with a basic shape and idea, and then I'm going to work on it and produce variations. So this is something that I don't do often enough, but I do in sketchbooks from time to time. And it's a good way of finding your voice, your style, what you like, of experimenting and gaining confidence in doing things that interest you, as well as good drawing practice, an opportunity to use colour or patterns and all kinds of things in with it. And it can be just a page full of variations, or that can turn into a work, of its own, in its own right, depending on how you approach it. So I've got here this piece of paper, which I think, looking for a ruler, I think is about 8 inches by 8 inches. Yeah, it is. So that's going to be about 20 centimetres by 20 centimetres. I have drawn a pencil border on here, but I'm likely to ignore that because this is a standalone piece and it's just a page from a sketchbook really, or a sketchbook page. I've just taken it out and trimmed it. So I'll stick it back in a sketchbook, because sketchbooks you don't have to work on the page, you can always use them a bit like a scrapbook. So work you've done you can add to it in terms of sticking it in. This has been pre-coloured with distress inks in pinks and purples. There might be some hints. I think there's a bluey grey in here, which I'm sure is weathered wood. And then splashed with water, and I've got these amazing shapes in there. And I'm almost tempted to work with those. This one looks like a weird ghostly thing. Yes, I know. But we'll see what happens. But let's start with a basic shape. And I'm going to start with a circle. And I'm going to draw the circle in pencil, because that gives me a size and a space that I want to work with. And I'm actually going to draw a couple more circles on here. That I'm going to leave because I might create a creature that's bumbling around. I've added that there so I know that the centre of my flower is going to be around here. And in fact there's another one here, and I may just have them like so. They look more like seed pods actually. This one calls for the centre just there where there's a difference in colour. The others I'm going to leave, and perhaps some smaller ones just here and there. Am I going to fill all of these in today? Oh, who knows? But it's all good fun. Got that there, is that splodge. This one here, this one here. So all circles. Whether I'm going to use all of these, who knows? I haven't left space for leaves or anything. Some of them aren't quite circular, so I'll pop some ellipses in. Got that one there. Or ovals if you prefer the name oval, and let's see what we can come up with. Ooh, there's a nice shape there. So just basically a bunch of circles. So that's my pencil done with. Yes, I've got an eraser, because I will erase pencil lines. I've also got my cute little car here. This is a Midori desk sweeper, and it's got two little brushes in it. You can see them moving, and they'll sweep up erasings without getting them everywhere. And then the other tools I've got 3 Unipin fine liners. I've got an 05, an 01 and an 03, not to have them in order, of course. There we go. Got those, and I've also got a white Sakura souffle pen. I don't know if you can see the souffle. It's a gel pen, but the ink inside goes on fairly clear, and when it dries it becomes opaque white, and it's shiny, and it's also got a bit of dimension to it. Not so much on paper, but if you used it on something like plastic or metal or a sealed surface, it actually has quite a bit of dimension. And yes, these work on plastic, metal, wood and all sorts of things. So put those out the side. I'm going to use my 05. I'm going to start with the one I drew first. So I'm going to define where the centre of this bloom is going to be, just like so. And I'm actually going to just put, in Zentangle terms, an aura around it. I will try to keep my pen out of the way of what I'm drawing, but I can't guarantee I will, because the weird way I hold my pens. So I am going to create lines radiating from this centre out to the edge of my circle, and I am making them bend increasingly in a way that suggests this bloom is sort of like bending over. I haven't done a very good job, but I guess it doesn't matter too much. I should have had a bit, yeah, I can see what I've done wrong, but it's fine, it'll work out. This helps me with spacing of petals, that's all. And this is where that pencil line comes in really handy, because you get them all in that shape you want, even though it may not end up like that. So I've got choices here. I could just add a curve there, I could add a pointy petal, I could add a heart-shaped petal. I'm going to add sections between though, like this. So this is something I always like to do. Separate things out. I've been missing in action for a little while. Again, I had a lovely trip to my older sister's, but everything prior to then, coming back last week, it's all been a bit crazy in many ways, and it's just not been able for me to get a video. There's been a lot of demands on my time in different weird and wonderful ways. So today I'm recording a video. So I may not fill this page in. It may be a shorter video than you're used to, but I'll have another page to work on either in a live or in other videos. And it's something I know I need to get back into the swing of after so long not doing much, because life has been interesting in the past year or so, as in interesting in some fun ways for me, but interesting in some very awkward and difficult ways, with health struggles and so on. And my health struggles seem to be kind of resolving themselves to a degree. I'll tell you more about that later on maybe. So I've got a nice little puffy bloom here, but I'm going to get a finer pen, try the 03, actually I may go down to the 01, so that I can add some ink at the base here and just create nice little rounded connections rather than just straight lines. I always think this just finishes them off nicely. It makes me smile because it always reminds me of stained glass. I'm easily pleased in that kind of way. Don't forget to do the insides of the little ones. Of course, all of this is optional, it's your taste, and you do as you wish. Because, you know, it's important you learn to make your work your own. It's great to start with someone's ideas and tutorials and so on, but it's also nice for you to have a go at things for yourself, and you may surprise yourself what you come up with. Back to the 05, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some ink to the bottom line of these sections on this side, the bottom and to the left, So this one's still to the left there. So this one I'm going to go to the bottom of it. And then we'll just be going to the left. I'm a bit clumsy with some of them. And the bottom sort of like shifts around here to the bottom instead of the left. So it's sort of like it's not critical where you decide to change over. Or you can just keep it the same all the way around as a repeating pattern. They both work. I'm also going to add some ink on the inside of this, like so. So it looks like there's a centre in the middle there. I'm now going to take my 03 pen again. And I'm going to start adding smaller circles in here. And I'm going to try to keep them around the edge nice and small and much bigger in the centre. The reason for this is the smaller they are, the more ink you've got in an area and the darker it looks. So the bigger ones look lighter and as if they're bigger and closer to us. So I think that'll work quite nicely. There we go. And some of these up here are a bit on the big side, so I'm just going to nibble away at them to create that kind of shape. So I'm not quite sure whether that works. I often can't see the illusion when I'm working on them. It's only at a later date when I've had a big break from them I can see that. I can also see I want to add some weight to the line. Again, to the left and bottom, just to add a feeling that there's a bit more to these petals than seems to be, as if there's a thickness to them. Again, it's optional. This is just something I like to do. I'm not invested in this with real world flowers or plants or whatever. You can describe them as stylized, imaginative, intuitive, creative, abstract, however you like. This could be a flower, it could be a sea creature, you know, like a sea urchin or some kind of weird coral or plant or thing you'd find at the bottom of an alien ocean if you wish, or perhaps even on Earth somewhere. There's an awful lot of that plants, animals, life that we've not discovered on the Earth. We may know millions, but there's more being discovered every year as people continue to explore our own planet. Yes, I know. Yeah, my head's stuffed full of things. Now, this is nice as it is, but what I could do is to add some detail into these sections, and I think I'm going to make it quite simple. And again, I'm using an 03 because I know I can add ink to bring out some dimension here. And I'm going to, again, by adding weight to the left and bottom and just a little bit to my stem. And I'm going to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm adding like a chain of little seeds or something else here. They could be lumps and bumps if it's a sea urchin. It's funny how you can have the same thing. You know, I could use this design as I say, like a sea urchin or some kind of sea creature that lives in a coral reef or an alien sea. And it would look perfectly fine there, but you add a stem and leaves and suddenly it's a flower of a kind. So it's the context you put the design into that gives it its kind of meaning. In these little spaces, I'm just going to put a couple of them. I'm not going to have them look like they're disappearing off the edge in any kind of way. I'll just work within the space and let people work out what they think's happening. And I'm keeping the direction of them sort of like parallel to these dividing sections. And I've got to think here because it's to the left and bottom. I want these and there. Because I'm turning my paper, it's a bit more awkward in determining where you want these things. And if there's not the same number of these seeds, pollen grains, whatever you want to call them, they could be bumps, raised bumps, a chain of like raised bumpy pearls, and then that's fine. And of course you can also add anything you like, but I do have a bit of a fondness for things like this, and I do tend to go over the top with embellishment or pattern, as you may have noticed if you've been here with me long enough. And as I get used to where I'm adding the extra ink, I do it as I go along rather than going back. But that's how I work. You can do it, there's a whole series of working your way round. So now we've got all of these things going on here. And I'm just checking to see if I've got the shading or the line weight in the right places. It's not too bad, it's not too shabby. Just need to increase some. And then suddenly these look quite dimensional. This one's not very good actually. It's okay, this one I think needs weight right at the bottom more than anywhere else. So that'll do quite nicely now. So that's worked, that's the first one. Remember, I started off very simply, and if I decide to add colour today, it's unlikely to, but I will add some highlights, I think. Shall I? No, I'll leave that, because this part of me wants to come back in and add some texture around all of these, but I don't think I'm going to. But I think what I might do, just put a little sort of like little semicircle, little arc here to the left and the bottom of each of these spaces, just to bring out, sorry my hand was in the way, here I've just kept it kind of a semicircle here, because this section is behind this one. I'm going to add the shadow this way, so I'm creating a kind of L shape, which is fine, it works. So that's added some more dimension, and I'm going to do the same with the bigger ones here. Don't need very much detail to add that feeling of dimensionality. I'm not going to do all of these, well I most probably will, because I can put a little dot at the base of the smallest ones, which will just add that suggestion of shading, shadow, whatever you want to call it. And there's mine done. I think that's worked out quite nice. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So I'm going to start again with a centre, and I haven't drawn it perfectly. I've just done that in a weird and wonderful shape, and I'm going to draw one round it that too is going to be weirdly wonderful, and then another one which I think may be mostly coming up to the outside edge, but I'm also going to add one in here, all a bit off-centered. And I think just to keep this kind of circular, I'm going to add almost like some petals on the outside, as if they're overlapping in some way, and I think I can do that there. A bit weird looking, and I agree with you, it is. So this one, with all of them, I'm just going to go and add that line weight again to the left and the bottom. And if it's a bit wobbly like this is, that's perfect, because this bloom is also imperfect. I say bloom, it's whatever you want it to be. And this one here. So I don't mind that things, I'm embracing the imperfection of lines these days. It's what makes it human, I suppose. And I can get perfect lines digitally, but I can also work with wobbly lines digitally, which I quite like. I'm going to learn how to do more of, or accept doing more, as I ink in templates for my next book. So what we're going to do here, we've got all of these. So I am going to pop another one here, but instead of putting the extra line on the outside, on the left and bottom, I've put it towards the top and right, so it looks like we got a little hole there. And I could have played with that all the way around actually. I'll do that on another one. Hopefully I'll remember. But what I'm going to do here to give this the feeling of being a hole, I'm just putting some cross hatching in there, which is, I use the finest pen, I've got the O1, and I really have added very, very fine lines. Now this section here, I'm going to leave it as it is, but I'm going to bring in my O3. I'm just going to put a very thin aura around that, just to keep it as it is. And I'm going to do the same round each of them actually. So this will give me a line to work up to. You'll see what I'm going to do. I think I know what I'm doing. And I could fill each one of these sections with petals, which would be fun. In fact, what I might do is do fillings, ways of filling these spaces in and making it different on each go around. Yeah, I think that'll work. And these ones the same. There, it's getting very narrow, and here I haven't got space for one. But let's see what I can do with this. See, I've got this space here, so I'm going to just add some lines in here, but I'm going to vary the width between them, having some close together, some wider apart, so it's not perfect. And the other thing I'm going to do with these, even though it's very tiny, I'm just going to make the lines get thicker towards the outer edge of this space. There we go. And so that starts to develop the idea that this might be rounded in some way. This one, I'm going to fill with petals, and again I'm going to see if I can make them different sizes, but keeping the shape basically the same. And with these, I'm going to go back and fill in these little spaces in between. This feels like a pen that's on its way out. I'm getting some edges of it that aren't working, so the frustrating thing for me about fine liner pens is they're very convenient. They're very easy to use, but gosh, do I wreck them. So that's quite nice, but what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to use the O1 again. The base here, I'm just going to put 3 little lines, or however many I can fit in, just to add some ink towards that inner ring, the place where these petals join. You know, where they join to something, just like that. And again, that adds some dimension. Feels that they're falling away, and they're sort of curved a little bit. So we've got some shadow round underneath this rim, but we've got a lot of shadow there as if there's a hole underneath. Okay, so what else could we do? Another fun thing. Let's pull out some seeds perhaps that go around. Doesn't have to be perfect, but turn the paper if you need to. I'm going to, because hopefully I'll manage to keep my hand mostly out the way. I can't guarantee I will. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to have my camera and hand. It's not as easy as you think. I forget where I put it the last time I did the video. I've been trying to do this for 2-3 years. I've been making videos now. Yeah. All started during lockdown. think it was, because, well, it was a good time to do lots of things. I didn't, life wasn't as hectic as it had been before, where I'd been busy constantly, going here, there, and doing things outside the home and what have you. And suddenly we get locked down, and I remained in it for a lot longer than necessary, because I discovered that being outside around people was really stressful. And it wasn't I don't think it was to do with COVID. I thought it may have been, but I now since know that may have been a tiny element, but really it was that I'd spent an extended period of my life on my own, at home, calm, relaxed, not having to face crowds at supermarkets and so on, and discovered that actually crowds of people aren't exactly the best for me, believe it or not. And I've pretty much kept the same, though it was lovely to visit my sister, but we didn't spend a lot of time really with other people. We had planned to go to Wisley, but the weather, Wisley is an RHS garden, RHS Royal Horticultural Society, and it's beautiful there, but the weather was foul. And Wisley is a place you need to visit on a dry day, because the pair of us, if we get damp, wet and cold, we get miserable and tired, and it's not good. So, but we spent the time we was there together talking rubbish constantly. We say rubbish, but it was things of importance to us, and we're very similar in many ways and different in others. And eating lovely food, and spending time with, her cat Pixie had come and spend some time with us, and I made friends with Pixie, which was lovely. I love cats. So the last section, I think I'm going to do it as a kind of Romanesque architecture inspired pattern, but Romanesque architecture will be a lot more perfect in shape than this, but that's fine. It is what it is. So there's so many ways you can fill these sections, and they'll work no matter what you do. You can do all the same. Layers of petals would be lovely, but as this is a sketchbook page, I'm not invested in something that is complete. Well, this is, but it's more important that I have ideas for how I can nest shapes, that circles don't have to be perfect, what patterns I can use within them. And I do have my favourite kinds of patterns, my go-to patterns. So this one I'm going to keep this way, because I want to add some weight to these lines, but I want to do it to the bottom and left, I guess, again. But that side would have some shadow on it, so I'll add it. Like so. So it looks like they're raised up, and I'm going to put a smaller triangle inside each one. Some of them are going to be really titchy. Titchy, tiny. If you haven't heard the word before, it's titchy. In Welsh we say a dut, a little dut, and describe somebody as dutty if they're very small. Either someone or something. Like kittens are dutty and cute. I'm going to take a finer pen for the next stage, because I'm going to put, instead of having the thicker line on the same side, I'm going to put it on the other of each of these sections. And there is method in my madness. A, I can tidy up wobbly lines, but B, it adds a different kind of dimension than you'd expect. It's almost like these triangles stand proud of the background, and to To enhance that, I'm actually going to fill these sections in, not with black, but I'm going to use some parallel lines just to fill them in. So instead of solid black, I'm making use of a texture which allows some of the colour of the background through, but the black lines add shading to it, so this looks darker. And as I'm using a finer pen, I can get more lines closer together in there. I'm using an 03. I could have gone down to an 01, but the 01 always doesn't look as dark as this, so perhaps I'll get about halfway round here and I'll use the 01 for comparison. So you can see, and again, it doesn't make much of a difference actually. If I space the lines about the same distance apart, you can see there's a lot more colour coming through, I suppose. It's a subtle difference, but it's a difference. And of course you could have gone horizontal, you could have filled this in with something like Betweed, the Zentangle pattern Betweed. I'll do one there, which adds darkness but also some kind of texture going on. Tiny tipple is always a good idea, tiny little circles. It's nice that Zentangle have given these textures some names, isn't it, as well. I'm not denigrating Zentangle at all, it's a great method for others. So if I do some cross hatching this way, and then you can see the difference there. It really does just help to bring out variations in the patterns. Half an hour gone and I've only done 2, so it may be that this is where I end. Now for this one here, I'm going to carry on using my 01, and I'm going to put tiny little arches or little petals in here just to fill this tiny space on the edge of this particular petal, for want of a better word. And this could be some weird kind of coral that lives at the bottom of the sea. It could be an unusual rock or structure that's found, or a motif in some kind of ancient or alien sculpture. You know, imagination is a wonderful thing. And for consistency, I'm going to do the same in this one, really, because it would be the same round. But again, it's a very subtle difference, but the little arches and filling the little gaps in that may be left there adds that shading or that extra bit of shadow close to the border of the boundary between these lines. And here I think I'm just going to add a line in like that, and I'll do what I can here just to add some more. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see the difference the ink has made between this and this. There's a lot more dimension here than there is in this one in many ways. Sort of like these patterns stand out. So I'll go back to this one, and again I'm just going to add some interest here into a couple of these and just see what happens. So with this one I'm going to add tiny little bubbles of tipple here. And see what happens. So, okay, my health while I'm doing this. Now the problem here is I've lost that stem now, haven't I? But that all is not lost. While I was at my sister's, vegan eating was not going to be possible because it did her head in. So I did have cheese. I had cheese. And lots of other stuff that I wouldn't ordinarily eat that was still vegan. Lots of fresh fruit and olives by the stack, and you know, salady stuff and whatnot, and very fresh crusty bread and butter. And to my great surprise, although I did have a bit of an upset stomach on my last day there, I think that was more to do with the stress of my car getting stuck in the mud. I had to have a rescue service come out and get my little car out. And it was a nightmare because I went into full overwhelmed brain mode through being stressed or anxious, dealing with someone who I don't know, and having instructions flung at me, and all being a dither. But eventually we got my little car out the mud. The poor RAC chap, which is the car recovery organisation I belong to. And it's free when you remember. They come out and do daft things like this. I'm sure they've got it on the record for me. Silly woman, you know. Beware, dippy as anything. As my older sister said to him, she's very intelligent. She's got a PhD in science, but when it comes to being practical, just give up. And she's quite true. You know, I don't do practical things. So anyway, to go back to the food, so I was really surprised. And although there was another reason I think my stomach was unsettled, because my younger sister had turned up, and she's quite awkward to deal with in her way, and it was quite stressful with her there instantly for myself and my older sister. So, yeah. So my trip home was delayed because of the getting stuck in the mud, and then there was awful traffic on the way home. What would have taken me 3 hours took me about 5 hours, and I didn't stop. But there were road closures, there was heavy traffic, roadworks on the main motorway I travelled on, the M4, and it was the bank holiday weekend, just starting the Thursday, is when a lot of people go away at the end of their workday. Friday here is a public holiday, Good Friday, a bank holiday. And it was, yes, is all I'm going to say. Yes. And it was a bit trying, and people were trying to dodge the queues, or you know, if one lane of traffic was moving, they'd suddenly dodge in front of you. I swore profusely at a number of them because they really scared me. But since I've been back, I thought, okay then. I had a lot of energy while I was away, a lot better than I thought I would have. And so I've continued having some cheese and butter and good bread, and I've had olives and things like that. And I've tried broadening my diet. So I had things like mushrooms this week, and they didn't cause any problems, whereas previously they had. And so whether it's a coincidence, but I just feel, or my body feels better eating dairy than not. I'm still using plant-based milk because I like it, and it, you know, the cheese is enough to cause me problems with mucus and so on, which is just one of the downsides of it. But I really feel I've got a lot more energy, a lot more oomph about me. And I just think that my diet, as careful as I was with my vegan diet, it just wasn't enough of what I needed in it. Whether that was protein or the type of protein that I need, or the fat or whatever. And although I feel awful about eating dairy, because I know that the dairy industry isn't without its ethical problems, I have found a dairy that's called the ethical dairy, and they keep calves with their mothers until the calves have been weaned and the mother and calf are happy to part, you know, to be separate. And so the calf gets fed by its mother. Any excess milk is obviously taken, and once they're weaned, you know, the cows are still continued to be milked. It's organic, ethical, free range, you know, good quality of life for the cows, as natural as possible. And so I think that's a good compromise. And I did ask the company I got them from, which wasn't the ethical dairy, whether the ethical dairy does butter and yogurts and things like that, because I'd be happy to pay more for that, knowing that you've got happy cattle, you know, who are loved and cared for by their farmers. I may be mad, but so I've had to make that decision, and you know, I'll still eat as much plant-based food as I can, and you know, vegetarian food. You know, I don't eat a lot of dairy, but I just feel it is making such a difference. So we'll see. And oddly, my digestive system is a lot better for it. Now that may just be that I've had plenty of time without, you know, taking prebiotics, taking, you know, the bacteria that your gut needs, the healthy bacteria in capsule form daily, and that's built up a better gut flora. Whether it's just taken time, a bit more time for my digestive system to sort itself out after the years and years of IBS damage. I know there are going to be times when there's a flare up, but I know what to do if there is, and so I'm so much happier about that. It doesn't mean that I'm not tired at times, you know, the menopause is still taking its effect, and other things are, but you know, I'm getting there. I think I have time. Oh, this has got to be done. There's an eye going in here, you know that. There's got to be an eye there. I've got a little nose coming out there. And yeah, it's the little nose, and then we've got chins and a mouth perhaps. And there's something here that looks like a little ruff. Actually, I haven't done a very good job of this, have I? Oh, it'll work. There we go. Little strange creature there, which isn't a very good job, but hey ho, had to be done. Because that was just bugging me. Say that. Do that there. I can actually put a little mouth there. I can put some teeth in with a white pen. And then with my finest pen, to play around with ink blots more often, or paint blots or textured patterns like this, and see what I can find in them. But there we are, we've got a funny little critter here, little alien beastie, or a mutant dog or something. I don't know. There we go. Of no interest to anybody, but so there we are. So learning what my body needs, and sometimes I think you just have to listen to it. And I know about the implications of dairy and climate change and everything else, but I think ethical farms like that are possibly the way to go. But anyway, so that's really good for me, good news for me. This one I'm going to do as a strange kind of, I don't know what. I'm going to have a finer pen. Fill that in with just oval rectangles, I suppose, or rounded rectangles. So we've got a hole there. And I'm going to make use of these water droplets on here just to add some texture, pattern around there. Like so. And that kind of works just as it is. Now, do I make these into little holes, or do I make them into little bumps? If I want little holes, I put the I'll thicken the line to the top and right inside of them. But if I want them as lumps and bumps, perhaps I'll do a mixture of lumps and bumps, bumpy ones, and then some that are genuinely holes. I'll put one there and just look for some now. There we are. So that looks almost like something that is a single-celled organism almost. And I think it's nice to have the outside as it is, but I also think I might like to pop on a fringe, as it were. So again, with my finer pen, this is the 03, I'm drawing alternating long and short stems with a little circle on the outside, which are a bit like cilia, which are the hairs that you find on cells that move. You have them in our lungs and our nose to sweep mucus away, for example. And ciliated, called ciliated epithelial cells. Yes, it's true. So this is a ciliated weirdo. See, I think a lot of my inspiration has come from years of looking at things with a scientific eye and noticing textures and patterns, and they come out in my work from time to time, like now, or more often depending on, you know, what I'm doing. And the stylized nature, I've said this often, is that scientific way of looking at something and looking for its defining features rather than all the rest of the detail that you don't really need. What makes it what it is, what's the important stuff, and simplifying it. So I've done that here. This needs shading to help to bring out its dimensionality. I'd put some darker colour down here just to, around the edges, just to make them look like they're disappearing, but that's interesting. This is just bugging me now I've done that, but it'll be fine. It's what it is. Okie dokes. 47 minutes. I'll do a little bit more. Let's go to another small one, and here I'm going to, actually let me go to these, because I really do want to do something where that centre is right on the very edge. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give it a nice thick outer edge like that to the left and right, and then on the inside I'm again going to go around this. I'm gutted that I'm getting rid of some of that lovely texture there, but it's okay because that fades into the background unless I decide to make use of it, which I'm likely to. And I think here I just need a bit more ink around here just to boost that dimensionality. Now if you compare this with, say, that ring, which has lost a lot of its definition, but you can see how the thicker the edges are, the chunkier that ring appears. And this one appears to be quite flat, but we can alter that. And I think I may just put another edge around it, like so. It's not perfect aura, but I don't mind that. And I'm just going to add some shadow to the right and top, as if this is sort of like that's a channel there, as if it's darker. So let's play with that idea before I do anything else. And I'm just going to fill this in. It's funny how when I speak out, I realise there's most probably a lot more going on in my mind when I'm drawing than I realise. It's just that I'm not aware of my thoughts. You know, the thoughts don't come in words. And being forced to speak out helps me to recognise that, yes, I do think about things. just don't recognise the thoughts as words, as it were. Other than my inner voice, you know, my inner critic, that's very good at talking at me at times. Like now it's reminding me while I'm doing this that I haven't taken the washing out of the machine that I washed 2 days ago. So I must do that. Yeah, I know I have issues with such things. Remembering to do things. I'd get distracted by something sparklier and far nicer. So that's added that feeling that there's a shadow in here. And again, shadow or adding extra colour will help to bring that out. In here, I don't really know what I want to do yet in here. I really don't. I'm just going to try and tidy this up a bit, because it's a bit of a strange kind of... We've got strange thicknesses going on here, but I think I'll have to leave as it is. It doesn't have to be perfect, Angela, it's good enough. So around the outside, what I'm going to do here, where the pencil line is, I'm going to start by drawing some lumps and bumps, some of which come out from behind, others that stick out the side, and we'll have some here. I don't necessarily need many, but I just want some that will just add some interest to this. And I'm using an 03 pen to do this with. So as I'm doing this, I can start to ink in the outer edge of this strange thing here. And I'm keeping the lumps and bumps on the outside edge separate to each other mostly, because I do want to have something where there's like a defining edge there. And I think there's that one can be done because it's a nicer round. That one's very small. I've got one here that's small. One there. Another one there. So let's put a big one there. Something small there. And there. And there. And I'm going to leave that as it is because I really don't know what I want to do with the insides. I think, what do I want to do here? That'll be better. There we go. That's a better curve there. That's okay. There we go. Uneven, but I don't mind that. So I want these as bumps that stick out. So we're going to go to the left and bottom of each of these. And on the outside and just add ink around it. In fact, I could have used my 05 here. To get thicker lines easier, but it's fine. It's all good. And if they bump up against each other with the thickness of the lines, that's fine, because the lines will define the shapes and areas. Don't think they will, but you never know. Again, if I wanted these to be holes, I'd put the extra ink on the outer lines in the opposite places. So instead of the left and the bottom, I'd do the top and the right. Although the bumps on the outside might, well no, you could still make them holes. Just looks like the holes are extending outwards, as it were. Perhaps I wouldn't put them right up to the edge, or you know, over the edge like this if they're holes, because that doesn't really work. There we go. So lumpy and bumpy. Great for mushrooms, that kind of technique as well. You like toadstooly mushrooms. Now, my last one, this will be my last one, and we'll have a look at them all and have a look and see what I think about them now, is this here. I am going to ignore a pencil line. And with this one, I'm going to make the bottom edge thicker. So I've got a lumpy bumpy thing here. And I'm then going to draw this in. Don't know if you noticed, I've got this sticking out and these lines here just coming back in a different place. And that was, it was a mistake here, but I thought, well, that could be interesting. So we've got something here that seems to be going in. Now then, I'm trying to work out how do I get this to appear to go in, and I think it's by drawing. Let me try this in pencil. If you're unsure, this is what pencils are for. So I'm going to start by drawing in. Like that. I don't know if you can see. I'm trying to think, does that actually work as a way of adding the hole? I'm not sure, so let me try it the other way. Oh, that's a good eraser. Oh, it's got some fluff muck off it. Excuse the noise of my little car, my vroom vroom. Okay, let me try. I did that way. Let's try going like this. No, that's not right. There we go. Everything tidied away. So, what can I do here? No, it's not working either. I can't figure it out, which is okay. I'd have to work on that, so I'm going to think about something else. Let me just pick up all this mess and go straight in the bin then, rather than on the floor. Shouldn't be too bad, I think, because upstairs really does need a hoover, which I'll do later, no doubt. Okay, let's have a look. So I don't know what I want to do in this one, but what I am going to do around here is I'm imagining that these will be underneath here where we can't see them. And perhaps if I make them bigger around this side and then getting a little bit smaller as we go back this way, that helps to emphasize that fact a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit of ink in between these here, like so. And I am going to just enhance that line just a little bit there, so it feels that we've got an edge on it. And then what I'm going to do, we're having curved lines here. Not very well. So it looks like it has got structure there. What I am going to do though is perhaps put another ring inside here, and I'm going to add line weights. Oh, this will work. This will be interesting. In the same kind of place as the one previous, and I'm going to keep doing that. So we'll have a stepped kind of hole going down. Because why not? Like so. Right, I want to find a pen, and I can finish this off then. Just move this up. So I'm just adding some line weight at the bottom. In fact, I may do this in the way they do, oh, which is it? Oh, can't remember the name of the tangle. It'll come to me. Where you start off with the line quite narrow, and then as it comes to the end, where you want the darkest area, you just flare the line out. I think you see it on Pepper, and can't remember the name of the other one. It often starts off with a little S shape, and you build out from there into the space. Somebody will tell me in the comments. Senna. That's it, Senna. There we are, I got there. Yeah. I was having a conversation with my niece yesterday about this. forgetting things, she phoned up and said, "What was the name of that black cat that your mother had?" And I said, "Oh, Spooks." And she went, "No, not him." So she said, "When I was a kid, she had to, had kidney failure." I said, "Oh, Toby." She went, "That's it. It's been worrying me for days. I just couldn't remember." So I gave her a row. Well, I said, "You should have got in touch sooner." And she said, "I don't like to. I'm stubborn." I said, "Well, don't be stubborn. You've been worrying about it for 2 days and I just sorted it out for you." I said, "It's not like you can Google it." She said, "True. So I said, "Just ask. I won't think badly of you. If I know the answer, I'll tell you. If I don't, well, I'll be worrying about it for days then as well." She said, "Yeah, but why does it happen?" I always think it's just because it's an old memory, and our brain is very good at filing things away and not losing them, but not automatically bringing them to the forefront. My filing cabinet of cat facts is large, but it's very active at the same time, because who forgets cats? I don't, because I love them. So we've got this going on, and I quite like the way that the extra black here really helps to add dimension here. So I can go back and add more ink to these lines and really bring that idea out of a lot of shadow around the edge, which is another way of doing these. Some of these aren't exactly the nicest, but they'll work. I think it's a case of making it a more rounded space rather than having a dead square connection, so it's rounding all the corners. So that seems to make something that looks a bit more elegant. And then let's go to the middle. Fine pen. Yes, fine pen. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go in lots and lots of very fine lines, and I'm going to cross hatch this. I'm not even going to try. Now I cross hatch that vertical lines that way, but I curve the longer lines this way, which you don't think you're going to be able to see. I shall see if we zoom in. You can't really, because I've put them so close together, but I followed the curve of the inside of this section. Okay, so the next section I'm going to go around with straight lines radiating out, just like this. Now if you hear a click, it's because I've just shifted my mouse, because the screensaver came on. I'm going to have to do something about that. Sort of like 30 minutes is ridiculous. Oh, that's interesting. I've gone here. Yeah. So I've done that. And then round the outer one, I'm going to space the lines a little bit wider. Let's move that up a bit. So it's less dense. And this one here, I've left this one in the middle without anything in, but we need something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this with the little rounded rectangles that have more ink in between them, so it's darker than, there's more darkness than the ring around it, the next outer ring. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm having trouble explaining now. Talking for too long, my brain's going numb. It's not really, but it's getting there. It's not really, but it's getting there. In other words, I'm beginning to lose my ability to think or speak at the same time. So that's a bit darker, and then that really does help with the feeling of that disappearing inwards. And I need to do something about these here because they're a bit too light. These. And what I can do is I'm going to make these a little bit thicker towards the line as well, towards that section. So just adding that little bit of ink here, like so, and that then just adds that extra bit of darkness or whatever there, so it feels that this line This area is just falling away inside whatever this is, like so. Kind of works, though I think at the top we should have had it on the outer bit as well, because that would be underneath these sections. So that will help a little bit. So I'll do the same here, kind of, perhaps. May not be perfect, but it'll be good enough. The problem of using these, I've got to bring my reading glasses up. I've got bifocals on, and I know I need new glass. My eyes are due for a test, and I know I need new reading glasses. So the ones I've been using are my older ones, and they've got a slightly different prescription, and I actually see a lot better with them now than I do these. So don't need to have my nose close to the paper like I do with these. If I did that, my head would be in the way. So we've got some going on there, so that'll do. So we've got that. Now these sections here, I'm still not happy with the shapes here, so we're just going to do some gentle refining of the shapes. And also trying to get them as dense in ink around the edge. But these really call for this going on, I think. I could have done this with a thicker nib pen. I'm going to have trouble here, but it'll be fine. So I'm trying to have the lines going in the same way the outer shape of this goes, if that makes sense. So I've got this happening, and with these I really do think I want to fill these in. I'm going to fill some in with tipple, so we can see what that looks like. Something else I like to do, which will sound crazy, but it'll fit in here, is just to fill this in with sort of like wobbly lines that overlap. It's a kind of texture pattern, and as you overlap them more and more, you get more ink, so you get darker areas and lighter areas. I didn't do a good job there. Here it's just going to be tipple because it won't make any difference. It's more chaotic than tipple, but it works in a similar kind of way, so I'm going to do this one as well. Perhaps try and keep the inside more open and just the edges then, or the middle, with some lightness in it, and then we'll go back to tipple here. So it seems to make a natural progression, so I'm happy with that. Go. So again, you can see, I mean, if I pull out, still haven't done anything with this one, still don't know what to do there, but I'll eventually work it out, I'm sure. These petals need some extra ink on the left and bottom as well, just to bring out some dimension here. Not all of them are going to get it, but some of them are. And of course, graphite or colour will help with that. So they're looking not too shabby, are they? It's not too bad. I mean, I've still got a large number to do. Let me just zoom out so you can see. There we go. That's it in its entirety today. So I've got a pen, it's a black wing, pencil. I've got my pens, and I'll try and put them with the size on so you get a nice picture, beginning or end of the video, hopefully with the sizes on. I mean, it's always your own personal preference what you do, and I haven't used the souffle, so I'll pop that out the way, but I have used an eraser, so that can go there. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. I buy everything myself. I love these pencils. I've heard about them for a long time, but I'm so glad I got them because they're a joy to use. They give very black lines with very little pressure, and they also, the point lasts a very long time on them. so I'm not constantly sharpening. I love my mechanical pencils, but every now and again it's nice to go back to old tech. So there. So I'm not sponsored. Everything I buy myself. I'm just saying that. Just a reminder that I do have a Ko-fi shop where if you feel inclined, you can buy me a cup of tea, or I've only got one set of colouring templates there. But as time goes on and my energy picks back up again, as I said, I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm very glad about that. And I've worked out what I need in my diet, and it seems to be working wonders to a degree. I think it's going to take a while longer yet, but I've still got to pick my iron up. Yeah, remember to take the iron tablets, Angela. But then I'll think about offering sort of tutorials, personal tutorials, or classes and so on. And I'll do another live on YouTube soon. It won't be tomorrow because I've got a couple of things that I'm involved with tomorrow in the morning and the evening, so it's not going to be possible. I'll need the afternoon to sort myself out for the evening event. But later on I will let you know when I decide when that is. Trying to fit it in around the work I've got to do, so it's a balancing act at the moment, and I'm not very good at balancing acts. I get so focused on one thing, there's no hope, for anything else. But I will come back and do more work on this. The live, I will do the other one. And but yeah, I think it's Artwyrd, Artwyrd on Ko-fi. Ko-fi is Ko-fi. So, and I hate to say that, but I am, because life, isn't it? It's not obligatory. I'm never think to. In fact, I'm wishing I hadn't mentioned it now, and I don't know why I did. I'm feeling all embarrassed, and yeah. Anyway, don't feel obliged to. I'm just mentioning it. Because I don't want anybody to feel obliged. I offer this to help people, and because I can. All right? There must be an ulterior motive. Perhaps it's because, I don't know. We'll see. I'm wittering. I'm going to cut this last bit out. Ignore me about Ko-fi. But do look after yourselves and find time to be creative. And I'll see you again soon. Well, share time with you again soon, perhaps, because I can't see you. But one day we will. I will do a Zoom or 2 or 3 at different times of the day, so people from around the world can come and join in if they wish. And so there we are. Right, I'm off. Bye. Hoil. Take care. Ta-ra.